Welcome back to Spider-Gwen, aka Ghost Spider, right here at the Comicstorian channel, your home for audio dramas of your favorite comic books, video games, and movies. Today, we're going to be covering Spider-Gwen Volume 6, the conclusion to the original Spider-Gwen arc. And when we last left off, she had obtained the Venom symbiote, and after battling Matt Murdock and trying to find a way to basically put an end to him, she got tossed through a dimensional portal, where she landed in an alternate reality with a different version of herself. This story is rather long and sprawling, and if you want to get the full story of it, then make sure you click the playlist and go down and check out the rest of the story. But for those of you who have been here since the beginning, today it's time to go into the life of Gwen Stacy. As Gwen is sitting in a diner staring at her cup of coffee, the Gwendolyn of this world says that she's not so sure on the rules of this sort of thing. But no matter where anyone is from, no place makes a better pastrami than this place right here. Gwen stays silent and Gwendolyn tells her, "Okay, no sandwich, no small talk, straight to it then." We got off to a weird start in the alleyway, and there was a lot of freaking out. But just say you're not a clone. It might sound strange, but Professor Warren's whole darn genetics midterm was about cloning. Transgenics, they call it. Gwen tells herself that she should just say it. She should just get out of here. But then she'd have to deal with somebody else's problems, and that'll just waste their time. She slams her fist on the table and gets up, telling her, "I'm sorry. I just don't have time for this." Gwendolyn chases her out, yelling for her to hang on. "Just wait a second. My identical twin just fell out of a hole in the sky," but Gwen pulls her arm back, telling her, "Every second that I'm here, I risk everything. We don't belong here." As Gwen changes into her costume, she swings away, and Gwendolyn then asks, what did she mean by we? The next morning, Gwen heads over to the Baxter building, home of the Fantastic Four, with Reed Richards looking for help. She sees Reed in his lab and she begins to knock on the window, but Reed just, continues to work. She yells that she knows that he can hear her. Can he just? But before she could get another word out, an automated voice tells her, "Attention, Spider-Man. While we empathize with the urgency of your situation, we trust that you can understand privacy is precious. With that, we kindly urge you to direct all contact through the proper channels." Gwen stops, asking, "What, Spider-Man? I'm not Spider-Man, and I'm right here!" As Gwen bangs on the window again, the building's defense systems electrocute her, sending her down into the dumpster below. Later, back with Gwendolyn, the two sit and eat a hot dog. Gwendolyn says that if she understands this, an alternate reality of herself just fell out of the sky. And in this parallel world, are we talking like same physical sciences? Or is it like antimatter? Or something like the negative zone? Gwen takes another bite, telling her, "Don't look at me for answers. I'm just a musician, and my only hobby is beating on things with sticks. My failsafe didn't even work. Jessica Drew once told me when lost in time and space, find a Reed Richards, except, that didn't work." Gwendolyn asks, "Who?" "Well, whatever the case, we need to try and find a way to get you back home." Meanwhile, back on Earth 65, the home planet of Gwen, Captain America stops by Matt's apartment and sees everything ready to move, asking, "Are you moving out, or are you just moving on?" Matt laughs, telling her, "I was attacked in my own home. We both saw the monster Spider-Woman has become firsthand, and we both felt it. Or were you beaten unconscious by the time the monster escaped down the magic hole or not?" Cap scoffs, telling him that the sting must have hurt to have Spider-Woman slip through his grasp. All that time, all that effort that he was putting into destroying her, and all it took her was 60 seconds to unravel it. He got sloppy. He showed his hand too early. The clock is ticking. What good is that hand when he is without the mask? Matt looks back at Cap, telling her, "Look, if you're wondering where Gwen went, I don't know. I wasn't the one who sent her away. As painful as it is for me to admit, this time, I'm as lost as any of you." Back with our two Gwens in the other universe, though, the pair turn to the only other person that they can get in touch with, Tony Stark. Tony stares, asking, "So, this is a trap, right? Clones, evil robots? Because I'm nearly as smart as I am devilishly handsome and sinfully. But twin college co-eds? Those don't show up on anyone's doorstep, not even mine." Gwendolyn holds up paper, telling him that they've got a pretty revolutionary scientific hypothesis that they'd like to share with him. It's something that could be like unearthing a treasure trove of scientific knowledge. While Gwendolyn goes on, Gwen herself gets frustrated and shouts, "Look, we aren't gonna beg you. But if you don't have time for the biggest discovery since the negative zone, then we'll just find someone else who will. Like Reed Richards." And a short while later, while Hank Pym is looking over the paper, he says, yeah, maybe. Have you showed Reed yet?" Tony asks, "What? Hell no!" But these thin spots, they're brittle pieces in the membrane of the multiverse? I mean, why not? We've seen far crazier things, Hank. After a few more minutes, Tony comes back telling him, "Okay, my colleague and I agree that your hypothesis is a precious pearl. But we must ask, what led you to us?" Gwendolyn tries to come up with something, but Gwen just stops her, telling her, "I know someone who has punched a hole through about 6 million of those weak spots in the multiverse. They traveled across the multiverse this way for over 75 years. The science is reality." Tony then asks if they're willing to prove their little theory holds even a grain of possibility. But Gwen tells him yes. So Tony says good. Because unless they've got something native to another reality to use for calibration, their thin spots are still just a wild theory. But hey, he's rich. He can invest in a long shot. Consider this device a startup fund. Now get out there and prove the impossible. Later, as the two are now standing on the George Washington Bridge, Gwen asks, "This? Really? This is the spot?" And Gwendolyn tells her yes, the space-time membrane is the thinnest at the bottom of the bridge, just below the surface of the water. They can't swim there because they'll need to generate enough force to break through that spot. Gwen sighs, telling her that this is just too damn on the nose to be wrong. Let's just get it over with. So Gwendolyn climbs onto Gwen's back and the two web up to the top. As they look down, Gwendolyn tells Gwen that no matter what happens, she has to remember one thing. Her story didn't end here. Never forget how lucky you are. Gwen walks to the ledge and takes a step forward. So many things have happened on this bridge. So many have fallen here, but no one has ever jumped. As Gwen jets down towards the surface of the water, the light begins to shine, and then suddenly, she's gone. And later at the offices of J. Jonah Jameson, back on Earth 65, he asks, "Okay, so let's assume I believe you. Why come to me? Why not the police?" Gwen interrupts him, telling him that she can't trust the police, not anymore. Jonah laughs, telling her, "Of course, but you trust me? Really?" Gwen tells him no. She never came solely to him. After Peter Parker's death, he blamed her without evidence, picked a side that would grab him the most headlines. But he was there to start. He's a part of this no matter what she wants. He made sure of that, and that is what she trusts in. That he just can't walk away from the biggest headline that this town's even seen. The truth about Spider-Woman. The truth about Gwen Stacy. With the publication of Gwen's story about everything out in the open, Matt Murdock sits in a dark room with monitors for all 4 branches of the hand. One voice says that he has them worried, but now, not that they're alarmed, but his public battle with Frank Castle and Spider-Woman, these theatrics put the hand at risk of exposure. Matt quietly laughs, asking, "What? You're going to lecture me? Give me a list of options? Possibly an ultimatum?" And another voice asks, "Do you really believe that we just let you walk away after all those people that died on your watch?" Matt stands up, stating, "I'd be doing cartwheels while everything exploded in slow motion." The first voice then says that he must listen well. There's nothing for him out there. He is nothing without the hand. He straightens up his jacket, and he turns off the monitors, telling himself, "That is correct. Nothing. Nothing to hide, nothing to lose, nothing to fear. Let the hand come for me. Do their worst. I've seen worse." Later that night, as Gwen is sitting in the band hall playing with the Venom spiders, while Mary Jane says that it's kinda strange, Gwen Stacy calling for band practice instead of missing it. If that isn't plot twist, she doesn't know what is. Gwen tells them that she needs their help. Murdock has stolen something from her, a web watch. It's a device that can open up a doorway across space and time. All he would have to do is press the right button and he could walk away with a fresh start somewhere else. She cannot let that happen. Mary Jane then asks what can they do to help, and Gwen says by doing what they also do, play. How's it looking, Reed? And the Reed of Earth 65 gives her a thumbs up, telling her that all levels are set. Mics are hot and ready to record. Ladies, let's rock and roll. But later, across the way, Matt Murdock finds himself facing down against the ninjas of the hand. Even though he manages to cut down every one of them, he can bleed. He falls to his knees, getting ready to take out the sword that has been stuck in his stomach, when he hears Gwen's voice telling him that it looks like it burns. Should she rub some salt in the wound for him? Matt begins to laugh, asking, "You're alive? Of course you're alive! Why wouldn't you be? Especially when all the things are burning to the ground. It's like a moth to the flame." Matt grips the handle of the sword, ripping it out, tossing it to the side, telling her, "You really are my most greatest student. I could have gone anywhere thanks to this little watch, but instead I stayed to show you, to teach you. You could be more." Gwen scoffs. "Sure, You think that you're cursed, burdened by this great power, that no one is as free of you? Last week, you were the crime boss. This week, you're a ninja. Your whole life is a dress-up. You're so bored and empty that you have to wear other people's pain like a costume. Matt listens to where Gwen's voice is coming from and he swings. But Gwen jumps back with a small device telling him, "We're not doing this your way. No more dancing in circles." As the button is pressed, Matt begins to hear Gwen's band playing and he screams as he falls to his knees. Gwen asks, "Can you hear it? The Mary Janes are rocking the center stage of your auditory cortex. Terrifying, isn't it? Being overwhelmed, drowned out." Matt rolls over, covering his ears, shouting, "I will kill you if you don't turn it down. I hide in plain sight. Tell you that lies are truth, that strength is weakness. I even said that venom feared sound. It was I who planted it in your headline, who dared you to test it. But it was I who was wagging my fear in your face. I needed the thrill of being caught. I was begging for someone to challenge me." Gwen presses the button to stop the music and then goes on stating, "The world knows the truth now. So do I. This is the sound of the people that I love, the sound of who I am. And together, Venom and I have found our bond. We have found a balance. But for you, what do we even do with you? No court will convict you. No prison will hold you. Just give me a reason, a way to not end this in blood." Matt leans up, telling her, "The hand is coming, but I won't. I can't. Not them. End this now, or nothing will ever stop me." Gwen pulls the web watch from Matt's wrist and lets him drop to the floor, telling him, "You picked your partners. Enjoy the dance." Later, as the police surround the corn dog place that Gwen worked at, Jean DeWolf says that for all it's worth, she knew, even in her office pool. Gwen asks, "Really? Cool. You can pay for the corn dogs then." DeWolf says that she knows her father and he'd be proud of her for doing this. Are you ready? Gwen holds out her arms, telling her that she sure hopes so. And DeWolf puts cuffs on Gwen Stacy, telling her, "You have the right to remain silent." Over the next several days, Gwen goes in and out of court, waiting to hear what she's been charged with. She wanted to show everyone that people need to be held responsible for their actions, herself included. But really, she isn't on trial for what she did. She's on trial for what Spider-Woman might do. Her peers are deciding if they want her on their streets, and with that, the ruling is read. The people of the court find Gwen Stacy guilty. Gwen's first day at the S.H.I.E.L.D. maximum security prison is rather, well, eventful. Instead of breaking in, she's walking down the halls like everyone else. She sees Cindy Moon and tries to sit with her, but Titania took it upon herself to welcome Gwen personally with her fists. Gwen thought about fighting it, but, well, she didn't. And Titania wasn't the only one looking for payback, Diamondback as well. But the one in charge of everyone, oddly enough, was Adrian Toombs, the Vulture. How the Vulture got to running the place is anyone's guess, but he does now. And so those days, they turned to weeks, and the weeks, they turned to months. The beatings, they didn't stop, and every time that Gwen thought about using her powers, she held back. And after some time, Gwen began to go along with it. Maybe that's what she was supposed to do. Show everyone that she could restrain herself. Doing that for so long did yield some results. Cap came in stating that S.H.I.E.L.D. would like to offer her a job, one where she can freely use her powers. The Venom symbiote. Be a part of a team. Be someone working with the good guys. That she'd be allowed to leave this prison today. But they won't force her. The choice is hers to make. Gwen thought long and hard about it, and she simply said, no. She is here because their justice system is broken, and the only way out is to show that she can be held accountable for her actions as a vigilante. Not many people get a second chance, so when it comes time to leave, she can't just rush back out and make the same mistakes. She can't continue to put what led her out there into the world. The next time, she's going to do this the right way. The days continue to come and go until it becomes day 364, 23 hours and 59 minutes. 1 year has gone by with Gwen Stacy in prison, and now she can leave on her own. She screams, and when she looks around, she finds herself in a hospital room. She sighs, telling herself that it was just another nightmare, that she's out of that place now, that she doesn't need to remember something so bad. Just then, the door opens up and a man walks in stating that he is George Stacy's doctor. Dr. Asim Strange. If he could, he'd like to speak with her about her father. Before they send her father home, she must know that he's been doing incredibly well over the last few weeks. He wouldn't suggest trying out for the Knicks, but then again, it's not like he'd make them any worse. Her father was on the brink of death, gripping the ledge with only his fingernails. there is often a psychic cost for surviving such trauma. Anxiety, depression, denial. She must know that there have been some changes, but the fact is, her father survived, and that she's going to have to adjust to him to make sure that he stays on the path of recovery. As the two of them walk out, Gwen looks around stating that and George finishes telling her, it's nice and quiet. Gwen laughs, telling him that she expected a bazillion paparazzi asking a bazillion dumb questions, like what's next for the great George Stacy? And George gives a little light laugh, telling her, actually, I'm hungry. How about a dollar dog? Gwen thinks for a second, asking, isn't that on 65th Street? That's like 30 blocks. We could go if I carried you. And George tells her no. He'll race her there. Only a few blocks over, Gwen hangs from the street post, stating that they should probably just catch a cab. And George sits on the ground trying to catch his breath, telling her that he's fine. He needs to take a moment. He needs to breathe. Can she just come down from there? People are staring. Gwen asks, so let them. They're going to anyway. Nothing against the law about me taking a walk. George stares hard, telling her, get down. So Gwen stares right back, and George tells her, please. A short while later, Gwen tells George to slow down, but George pulls his arm away, telling her that he's fine. She stops, asking, what is he trying to prove? What's with the attitude? And he yells at her. It's because you're still keeping secrets. You're still pretending I hadn't noticed. Your pet spiders have been in my shoes and pockets. Do you think that I've become some kind of child that needs protection? It's not your job to protect me, Gwen. So the two stop and they sit on the curb. And George asks, what happened to our lives? How did things end up like this? Is it my fault? The things I've said? The things I've taught you? How is it fair? What did you do to deserve any of this? Gwen sits down and asks, what was that line in that Western you really liked? Deserves got nothing to do with it. Maybe we aren't the heroes that we thought we were. If we still hope to be, we can move forward. George then says that she knows how all of this works. No matter how hard she tries to do better, try not to fight. Someone will come looking to fight her. Gwen tells him, yeah, they will. And maybe they'll even find it. But if the only way that I can help is with my fists, then I've already lost. I have to try this a different way. I have to know that I tried. George nods and tells her that she's right. He won't waste this chance on being a hypocrite. He's got her back. Just keep those damn spiders out of his shoes. He can protect himself. Now can we please eat? I've given you the steering wheel. Clearly I've gone insane. Gwen takes out her phone and tells him, sure, just let her get And George stops and tells her, no car. Let's get out of here your way. So later at Dollar Dog, sirens can be heard in the distance, and as the two listen, George says that it's fire sirens, not police. Gwen pauses for a moment and says, oh, and George smiles, telling her, just go. I love you. Gwen jumps up and hugs her father, telling him that she loves him too. And goodbye, everyone. George watches as Gwen swings off and looks at the spider on his hand, stating that she always wanted a dog. A few blocks over, the fire rages through a building as one of the firemen assists helping another one up the wall. Command radios in that they have to leave, but the firemen tell them that there's nothing that anyone can do, but there's still someone trapped inside, and the fireman continues to pull the rope as he coughs, just as a second fireman gets close to the ledge and the line snaps. The man scrambles, running, calling out for his partner, and just then through the window he can see something. The smoke clears, and in front of him is a hooded woman holding his partner. The man asks, who is she? She pulls back her hood, telling him that she's always wanted to say this, but she's Spider-Gwen. And that concludes the initial 6 volumes of Spider-Gwen, aka Ghost Spider. The hero of Spider-Gwen did continue onward with many weird restarts and getting pulled into the Spider-Verse event and then becoming popular thanks to the movie and stuff like that. But the original team that created Spider-Gwen, that created this universe, that made her who she is, they left at this point. That moment when she was hugging her father and she said goodbye to everyone, that was the writer and the artist saying goodbye to everyone who would enjoy this series. And if you've, for some reason, only been on this channel to enjoy the Spider-Gwen series, well, I guess this is my goodbye to you as well, because we're pretty much done with this character. We'll go back to her eventually with the newer stories that come out, but as you've seen, if you've been on this channel for a while, it's not the same. It's not the same character that we've all fallen in love with, that we've all enjoyed, that we've all been following the adventures of. It's a different character when they come back with a different writer, and that's what's going to happen with this situation. It's not going to be this Spider-Gwen. So, if you enjoyed this character, I hope you did, and I hope you'll consider buying all these volumes, adding it to your collection, turning this version of Spider-Gwen into a hero that you can look up to and that you can pass on to everyone around you. But overall, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want to hear more stories told to you in this fashion, this manner, then please consider subscribing to our channel. It's called Comicstorian because we do comic books, but we also cover video games and movies here. And if you subscribe, you can check that schedule in the banner right above that will tell you when videos are coming out, and you can keep track of your favorite storylines. I apologize to all of you who have waited forever for this story to come to its inevitable conclusion, but we are finally there. And if you want to hear the new parts of it, let me know in the comments down below. The new writers, the new direction. Anyway, I've said enough of a closure to this one. I'm a huge fan of the Spider-Gwen character, and I'm a huge fan of this iteration of the character. That's why I wanted to, even when this video got the lowest views out of some of the videos on this channel, continue this no matter what. And I'm so happy that we were actually able to finish this. If you want to talk about Spider-Gwen and your other favorite superheroes, please consider following me at Twitter. And I'll see you next time. Or I won't if you're not coming back right here at Comicstorian.